conversation into solidarity in practice and hearing from practices that have a solidarity notion to themselves. We'd like to invite some people to, well, the circle, to the stage in that sense, and have a little bit of an exploratory conversation led by someone other than me. First, I would like to introduce Schepers Bosman, Dutch denim, visible constructions, irregular pattern cutting, and colorful patchworks are the signatures of Dutch designer duo Schepers Bosman. They make fashion rather than talk about it, which is ironic because they're here speaking about fashion. And they're drawing inspiration from the workplace, new techniques, new unique materials, and garment constructions. Please welcome Sanne Schepers and Anne Bosman. Could you maybe briefly say something about that sentence, like we make fashion rather than talk about it? Either one of you.
Well, we think there are a lot of words, not so much making. If you say a lot of words, then equal the making as well. So that's basically what we stand for. First doing it and then talk about it.
Sure.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to introduce Toton. Welcome. As one of Indonesia's most prominent designers, Toton has been incorporating recycled and upcycled materials in its collection with a crafts approach done by their artisans in Indonesia. The goal is to work almost exclusively with local artisans and source everything locally with a green footprint. In 2016, the brand won the Woolmark Asia Award with their collaboration with artisans in West Java, and their hope is to promote Indonesia's heritage and culture, to preserve customs and crafts for the next generation to inherit and evolve. So a warm welcome to Toton Januar and Haryo Balitar. And just to mention that Toton is also doing the Instagram takeover today. So thank you very much for that and welcome.
And so the conversation is going to be led by Aline, Paul.
We can watch a short intro movie.
Let's do that first. Excuse me.
Toton terbentuk di tahun 2012. Pada saat itu, saya dan partner saya, Haryo, ingin membuat suatu brand yang bisa menerjemahkan budaya dan kerajinan Indonesia ke dalam bentuk yang lebih kontemporer. DNA brand Toton sendiri sebenarnya adalah Indonesia. Jadi dari inspirasi, dari jenis-jenis teknik yang kita pakai, siluet, semuanya berdasarkan dari pengalaman dan pengetahuan saya sebagai orang Indonesia dan budaya-budaya di Indonesia. Sejak awal mula Toton membuat koleksi, kita tuh memang selalu bekerja sama dengan pengrajin lokal, terutama bahasa estetik yang kita gunakan memang banyak melibatkan kerajinan tradisional. Salah satunya adalah embroidery yang dari awal memang kita selalu pakai sebagai vocabulary kita. Kemudian setelah berjalannya waktu, kita mulai menelusuri dan mulai mengeksplorasi kerajinan-kerajinan lain dari Indonesia seperti tenun, kemudian batik. Kita mencoba mengangkat beberapa jenis kerajinan yang kita kembangkan menjadi suatu bentuk baru yang lebih modern. Sebenarnya kalau dengar kata-kata sustainability itu dari dulu aku amat sangat intimidated ya, kayak untuk menjadi sustainable tuh harus memenuhi berbagai syarat gitu. Tapi setelah berjalannya waktu dan setelah mencari tahu informasi dan segala macam, sebenarnya apa yang kita kerjakan selama ini, terutama orang Indonesia sih, orang Indonesia itu amat sangat sustainable ya. Seperti misalkan kita cenderung untuk tidak membuang barang yang kita sudah nggak pakai, tapi kita pakai untuk kegunaan yang lain misalkan. Penerapan sustainability di Toton sendiri sebenarnya terbagi atas dua bagian. Jadi yang dari awal kita sudah kerjakan itu adalah bekerjasama dengan pengrajin, kemudian mengolah kerajinan tradisional yang ternyata masuk ke dalam sustainability budaya atau cultural sustainability. Titik awal di mana Toton mulai untuk secara sadar mengaplikasikan sustainability lingkungan ke dalam koleksi Toton itu sebenarnya dimulai ketika kami diminta untuk membuat suatu koleksi khusus untuk acara Dewi Fashion Nights di Jakarta Fashion Week 2017. Dan akhirnya waktu itu aku memutuskan untuk membuat koleksi tersebut full dengan menggunakan bahan-bahan bekas dan bahan-bahan yang tidak terpakai di studio. Kemudian kita melakukan riset di beberapa pabrik-pabrik denim di Jakarta. Ternyata mereka itu menghasilkan limbah atau pre-consumer waste yang cukup banyak, dan pre-consumer waste-nya ini kebanyakan yang memang belum menemukan tempat untuk diolah. Akhirnya kita menampung dari beberapa tempat tersebut dan mencoba untuk membuat teknik-teknik yang menarik ke dalam koleksi Toton. Setelah tahun 2017 itu sebenarnya akhirnya kita berpikir bagaimana caranya untuk mengincorporate this sustainability aspect ke dalam brand Toton. Jujur dari aku sendiri pun berpikir untuk berbuat sesuatu yang lebih lah, dalam artian sudah tidak cukup lagi cuman berkreasi atau membuat sesuatu yang bisa menyenangkan mata dan hati, tapi mungkin harus membuat sesuatu yang lebih punya arti.
Amazing. We wouldn't want to have missed that. Sorry for moving on too fast. But I would like to introduce you to someone originally from Bucharest, Romania, Alin Palciobanu, who is freshly graduated from the fashion design BA at Artes. We just heard from you. Graduated with his collection titled Articolul 200. The purpose of the collection was to be looking for his queer ancestors by reconstructing the queer history of his home country, where until 2001 there was a ban on homosexuality, which was also around the time that we got marriage equality in this country. So by cross-referencing and researching existing histories from the West and deconstructing and purging ideas on masculinity, he designed what he calls his commie fags, Alin Palciobanu.
Hi. So I will go straight to the questions. I have questions for people. First, I think it's important to, sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I think it's important to first define what solidarity means for you and your label, and how do you practice that? Like, how do you care? How do you practice solidarity?
Well, I think for us it's more a doing than saying something about it. And I think it's very worrying that, especially nowadays, it's more a print on a T-shirt, where the T-shirt might not be produced in the right way. So that's something I think we work about, like, do it instead of discussing, talking, saying it, basically.
Sorry. Hi. I think for me it's starting from when I started my brand. I know I'm saying I a lot here, but I think by saying I would like to include myself into the conversation. And as well, I think when I started the label in 2012, there was no label in Indonesia that are contemporary and also respectful to the crafts. And it is something that hurtful to me. I have to say I come from a place of anger in this context, but I don't want to bring people down, but I think it's a good energy to transfer that anger to a change. So when we started in 2012, I wanted to make a brand that, I want to have a brand that represent Indonesia in a contemporary way, that people can see that Indonesian culture is cool. Indonesian culture is something to be desired for. So I went there and I tried my best to represent that. And I think it is important to just start what you want to do. So in terms of solidarity, I feel that what I did was I did for my country, I did for people in Indonesia who wants to be perceived in that light. So yeah, that's what I think.
Following up, you brought up the system. How do you position your work in relation to the dominant fashion system? You say you're coming from a place of anger towards it?
Yeah, actually, when we started in 2012, we were trying to enter the global market. So we do seasonal collection. This is my experience. We did a seasonal collection. We did a showroom in Singapore first, and then to Paris. And in our experience, we were always like unseen in a way. That you come from third world country, you don't know, you don't have the standard, you don't know the practice with the European standard, with the European calendar. You cannot make winter clothes. You don't have winter, they say that. And that is something that I think should change. Yeah, obviously, they don't have the solidarity we need because, yeah, so that's my experience in terms of going on with my practice, I mean, in terms of business and all.
Could you also, yeah?
Well, I don't feel like you're saying the fashion world is very dominant. I think people feel dominated. And if you feel dominated or step out of it. And what I heard earlier on was quite something we shouldn't get invited to the table. We should create a new table. And that's something we really stick to that phrase. Because we wanted to create a different world where we can show different kinds of designing, of production, price points, treating people. So why being dominated if you can do your own?
We're basically the new system.
I think it's easier to say and than to do that from my perspective, from where I come from, because I think I come from a country who's been colonialized by the Dutch for 350 years. So the value, the way of thinking, the standard that we believe is way off. Like we are so westernized in our roots, we can't see ourselves sometimes. So in a way, I think we need a process. We Indonesian, if I can represent Indonesian, we have to rethink ourselves. We have to try to find our way again, and we have to brave ourselves to say that we're Indonesian and we're proud, and we have the same ability or the same standard or the same aesthetic maybe with you. So it is a struggle for us, and it took us more than 10 years to finally decide that, okay, no, we're not going to do seasonal collection anymore. We're going to do one collection a year because it is more effective, it is more efficient, it is friendlier to the environment, and yeah, I mean, we only produce what's ordered. We're not going to produce surplus and stuff. So to say that it gets a long way for us. Yeah, thank you.
I think a good continuation of the question would be, how can you create solidary fashion while actually earning a living? And what is your business model, and how does that relate to solidarity and care?
I think it's based on respect. Like everything you do towards the people you work with, the way you sell your clothing, where you buy your fabrics. But it's basically the same as every day. Like treat people with respect. It's not that hard. And it's not a difference within fashion. Sometimes it sounds like it's like a dream world or we need to do something special, but I think just be normal with each other and treat everything around you with respect, basically. And to earn money or earn a living with that, it is possible.
And also earn a living, be transparent about it, calculate the cost, what it should cost. You know, don't put your margins too high or too low, because it's not equal throughout the whole step system. Somebody is hurt.
Well, maybe that's interesting to add for our practice. We design, develop, and produce ourselves with people. So the design part is directly connected to the manufacturing part. So we like immediately know what kind of shit we're putting into the world, because we also need to make it and we need to sell it. And that maybe is something that needs to be more linked, more directly linked, that design part and that making part. It's so like far away from each other that sometimes you don't know like how much you're bothering the people that are making your thing.
Or annoying the people.
Or annoying, or like even with money, if we don't like calculate the right price, then we cannot pay ourselves and the people that stitch for us or stitch with us, exactly. So we like, yeah, I think that's one of the solutions. Keep it close and know what you're doing.
Absolutely agree with you guys. And if I might add, I had this conversation with Ursula de Castro when we did the Fashion Open Studio. And I think one of the thing that she said to me hits me hard. She said something like, if you want to be sustainable, she said sustainable, but I think in this case, solidarity, you can be empathic, being the good brand. You cannot be big. You will stay small. And it is okay, because the question is, can you make a living or you want to be rich? Because when you want to be rich, you will exploit. And exploitation is unavoidable if you want to make more and more money. So I think that's what I keep in mind, that like you say, that keep it close. You know your production people, you know who makes your clothes, who know how they live, so you can be empathy with them when they're sick, or you know your team, you know them well enough to know they're in a good place or not in their life. Awareness is important, and yeah, I think if you feel like what you do is enough, you can sustain enough life within your team, within your company. For me personally, it's enough. I make a living out of it. Yeah.
So that also relates back to how do you relate to the dominant fashion system, I guess, right? It's in a way creating your own and not giving into this idea of getting rich, which is what the dominant fashion system does. But how does that work in design practice? How does that inform your design process?
I remember my experience when we had the second collection. We worked with this indigenous weaver from near a village near my hometown, and they only can produce a piece of fabric, like 2 meters fabric. They take 3 months to produce one piece of cloth, and we did include those clothes in our collection at that time. And then there was this big brand. I would not say the name, but it's European. It's everywhere, and they come to us and they're interested in the design, but they want to make it mass and they want to make it cheaper. They ask us to provide with the solution. They even dare to ask us to make it in print, like the weave motifs is on print, on polyester. So I was like, it's a lot of money. And for a young brand, it is very tempting. It was very tempting, but I had to say no. I mean, I would want to still work with the weavers. I love these ladies. I mean, come on, I cannot do that. And I had to turn it down. Yeah, I think it's the practice, it's the experience that we meet along the way that define our choices. Yeah.
So in that sense, it's also what you said, keeping production in mind. Does that inform design process then, the way it is produced for you as well?
Yeah, because we know what to stitch. So I think twice when we design something, because you also kind of have to come up with the solution instead of just send it to a factory in a foreign country and like give them the problem. And I think that's something that we both experienced in the industry. We worked with ateliers, with factories, in the factories. So we saw the faces, we knew the people. And then you think twice when you go with your idea to a man or a woman in the factory, because they have to do it for you, or you have to do it together with them. So basically, yeah, I think that's somehow, but in the end, like everything is possible. So it doesn't limit your ideas.
And referring back to the phrase, like we like to say, we rather make fashion than talk about it. I would also like to say, like, we want to make it, we want to know how to make it, instead of writing a sort of a document how to do it, you know? Know what you're talking about. That's just a sort of key principle towards everything. And what you see now, in my opinion nowadays, is also at art academies, there's a lot of talking happening instead of making and describing of what they're doing, but you don't see, you end up sometimes with a blank canvas, and then you have to explain somebody else to create a feeling you own. That's very hard to imagine.
I agree with the fashion school, art school statement just coming out of it.
How? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, tell.
It feels like it's design for the sake of design, and we talked about art for the sake of art or for an actual purpose, and sometimes it feels like the purpose is just to either pass or to impress the teacher or to create something just pretty, which is okay if you want to do that, but it also can hold more than that. So
yeah, I think that is one thing that I learned the hard way as well. And I mean, you guys might be learned it at school, but I learned it during my activity with my brand, so it cost me a lot of money, time, and energy. But I think when I started the brand, I was still in the state of mind of like producing something that I like, producing something idealistic, like beautiful, like in my opinion, beautiful, or something that in my opinion would, like you said, like impress people. But along the way, I think the most important part of design is to, like you said, like giving a solution, make people's life better. If not within the design form, maybe it's in the way it's designed or the way it's produced, how it contributes to people's life. I think it's really important to think about all of those things before you scratch your pen on the paper. Yeah.
I would like to add maybe, like we're discussing a lot, we're writing a lot, we're talking now, but basically the main question is, what are you wearing? You know, and sometimes the stories are very, very big, but then what are you wearing? What are you communicating with? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about big topics, but we're not talking about words, we're talking about the garments that you're wearing. So that basically is the biggest question for everyone in the room.
What are you wearing?
Itself. It's all Dutch woven. It's produced in the Netherlands. So yeah, spread the message yourself.
Yeah.
It's the same what you are doing, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wearing one of my recycled denim. From the video you can see we basically scrap the garbage to find these scraps and putting it together. And yeah, this is what I've been producing this past 7 years maybe. Yeah.
And maybe it sounds a bit stupid, but if I wanted to wear somebody else, I shouldn't design anything.
Exactly.
You know? Because I'm wearing the things I'm missing right now, and I think I can make people happy with them as well.
Okay, so is that how decision making works? Like what you feel like is missing, like you design also for yourself?
I think basically maybe that's what we're doing, and that's also the hardest part. We're designing for ourselves. Like nothing that we design goes outside of the workshop without us trying it on. And I think that's something also to keep in mind when you're designing or writing or researching. Would you wear or would you communicate it to yourself? Because basically that is what's missing. And that could be a story, could be concept, could be a material, could be a way of manufacturing, could be a very, very nice dress. But basically if like it has purpose if you yourself are missing it, even if it's that small.
It's just practice what you preach.
Yes.
Yeah, if I may add, I think my partner there is the one who always reminds me that you should design something that you would wear yourself. I mean, I come from a group of designers who believe in the magic of fashion, the dream that fashion can sell. And honestly, I feel that there's a detachment between that world and this world that we have here in Arnhem, the world of the thoughtful, the solidarity, the beautiful world that should be the one there. Should be this thing that we're doing here should be the margin. And, no, I mean the rules, not the margin. Should be the one inside. So it's kind of saddened me sometimes to see the fashion world that, I mean, I feel like at this point when my brand kind of accepted a bit in that world, it feels like I live in two worlds, and I don't know how sometimes to communicate what I believe in into that world. But I think it is still important to sell the dreams, because that's how we communicate our message from the first time. Because the first time we started the brand, we don't go around and say that we're from Indonesia, this is Indonesian culture, and this and that, and this and that. I just try to create something that would fit into their lifestyle, would please their eyes, and maybe would get them the desire for them to have it. And then after they include my piece into their life, they would ask more, like, where did this come from? Where did this produce? Where did you get the inspiration? Who did the embroidery, maybe? And then that's when I introduce my background, my heritage. I don't push it as the selling point. And I started the sustainable effort that way too. I never put like, this is sustainable or this is green. It is something that I'm far from that. I'm still learning. So I'm just trying to sell jeans, and when they buy because they like it, so it's a good thing because it is recycled. Yeah, that's what I do.
Maybe I would like to add to that. I think that's also very important to kind of, first of all, have a very good design. Because if it's sustainable and if it has a very nice concept and if it's manufactured in the right way, but it's an ugly sweater, in someone's opinion, yes. What's sustainable about that? Yeah. So first, I agree, start with the design.
Do you want to open it up to the audience for any questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If there's any questions, whoever would love to participate.
Well, I have something that I want to challenge the designer duos towards you, because you come from, I think, being freshly graduated, I think that would be a nice continuation of the panel discussion we just had now, and you two, well, you both have like Solidary practices. If someone, an emerging designer or a freshly graduated designer, were to start a Solidary brand now, how would you build? How would you start building? Do you have any reflections?
I think if it's in yourself, then it happens.
Sure.
Like there's no way to be or to, well, I think it's more a living mentality than it is, and that's what I said in the beginning, a press release, because a lot of press releases are going around. So I would say do it instead of what Toton says, write it down or communicate it.
I think you just have to, if I have to like give an advice to this person, I think I would say like, you have to rethink what you want to do. Because do we need another designer? Do we need another producer? If you're really sure that what you're going to do is going to contribute more of a good thing than a bad thing, so do it. But if you're not sure with what you do, or you just want to have a brand because everyone else have a brand, so don't. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to have that voice first. You need to have that mission first. If not, what for?
I think what I'm hearing is integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity, being honest with yourself and
That's
staying
true.
Close to what is going on in your heart, in your mind.
Because that will be the energy that will push you through everything.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. And then that energy source is kind of like unending. It's source of light, let's say.
Yeah.
How does this sound to you, Arlene, as
no pressure.
Some weeks after your graduation?
I mean, I'm still figuring out what to do with my life, so that's nice to hear.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. I guess it's more of a question as an answer, because, for example, my collection is about queer identity or gay identity that's still not accepted in my country, and even now they're trying to ban, like, gender discussions or sexuality discussions in any academic environment. So even, like, universities doing gender studies would become illegal, so it's still very much a problem. The purpose that I would find would be to showcase at home, but then how do I oppose that? How do I deal with the overwhelming feeling that it's kind of like all against one?
Well, I think the secret message is like people could wear you. You know, that everybody could see, there's a secret message all walking around. And sometimes with the bigger brands, they sometimes spread a message without people knowing what the message is, whether it is creative or a certain people rights. I think that could be a very strong way of sort of going around it.
I can feel you, because I come from Indonesia and they're criminalizing LGBTQIA now. So if you're having any, even talk about it, I feel kind of scared because I have my partner there. So, but I think it is important to find your community, because with community, you have a sense of belonging first. And also you can spread the message, spread the gospel through community. I think it is important. I think it's not only in LGBTQ community. I think within the sustainable community, if we want to do better, we just have to spread the words. So find your people and go from there. I think it will be a good start, and very best of luck.
Thank you.
Intensely powerful. Yeah, I can attest to that. Like, finding your community means that you never have to explain yourself. Can someone take it from here, because I'm going to cry?
No, I just wanted to open it up if there are any questions or comments from the audience before I think everyone might be in need of a coffee and lunch, but if there are any questions or comments, please.
You really hear my voice. This is working. Okay. I have a question actually for you, Ellen. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. That I kind of wanted to ask from two perspectives. So as an educator working at a fashion school and seeing kind of the brilliance and aspiration of students and seeing your brilliance in your collection, which was so beautiful. But also someone who worked in the industry and left the industry in part because it was discouraging and hard to survive. So I guess listening to the designers speak about their journey, it kind of sounds like, you know, it's common sense and it's rather easy to like achieve this as they have. But I wanted to know from the perspective of like a new graduate, a new designer, how prepared you feel, I guess, to engage in this way, and how, like, if it feels possible to you, and yeah, I kind of just wanted to know, like, your perspective, like, going in potentially into the industry without the privilege of already having a brand that's established in this way, and maybe having made the mistakes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the collection itself was the first, like, me kind of braving myself up to face the world of fashion in a way, and it does feel to me like it's a rebellious move and like a middle finger. And I was joking since the beginning that if by the end of it I will be excommunicated by the Orthodox Church of Romania, I will have succeeded. So I feel like that could be like a kind of a confirmation that I'm doing the right thing. I don't know. I feel prepared from like a theoretical standpoint or a technical standpoint because it is 4 very, very long years. And it's like, it's exciting to go out, but it's also scary. I think I'm prepared, but also just scared.
Why is it scary?
Yeah, I think failure is the fear of failure, which I do believe failure is a big step in growing, but that's also very scary, I think. It's that kind of, yeah.
But it sounds now that like we're fully established and that we know what we're doing, but we're also like just working already.
Working and learning as you go, and yeah.
It's never ending. Scary.
You're never ready. You're never gonna.
You will never ready for anything that throws at you. Yeah, really, because as you grow, you'll find another challenge. You'll find another choice that you have to make. So, yeah, just be grateful that you are young. You have the opportunity. Of course, you have a lot of like challenges in front of you, but it's a good challenge. Go for it.
Excited to start, yeah.
Any other questions?
Hello, thanks for the nice panel. It's more maybe a comment, because when you were talking about that you like making a living from your work is enough, I also thought about the customer who's buying the designs, and also that there is a big aspiration to buy items that are showing wealth in a way, and also that I feel there's an urge to show that a different kind of value production is desirable for everyone. So. Also, like communicating ideas of the way you're working is, I think, very important to show that and yeah, make this desire more accessible. So yeah, that was just maybe a comment on that.
Yeah, I think if I can quote San, can I pronounce it correctly? Yeah, that I think good design will speak for itself first. So, I mean, there's this saying in Indonesian, dari mata turun ke hati, from the eyes to the heart. So when you see something that tickle your fancy, and it's go down to your heart first, and then you will start to want to know more about it. So I think it's the same with design, with products, and we don't. Of course, it is important to communicate our process and our background and our inspiration to the customers. But at the end of the day, that's how they see sometimes, from the eyes to the heart. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions before we leave for lunch?
I was gonna say something.
Yes, please. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, never. It's fine.
It's my specialty.
I think it's a matter of like I really grasp onto the thing that you said, like showing wealth with how you wear, like what you wear, and that's how people kind of make choices in what they buy. I think that's kind of a thing that's been happening. You know, you either want to show, it's like the whole history, you want to show virility or power or whatever. It's like embedded in our dress codes, and then I think it's a matter of unlearning and re-educating people and what to wear and what that means. And that it's also kind of going back to what we were talking earlier about, like removing yourself from the ego and from wanting to prove something that has actually nothing to do with you. You're reflecting to other people.
Yeah, I think there's this shift in what luxury means for people and what luxury means in the business in general. Because I mean, if we're talking about high fashion, like you see Balenciaga, you don't see wealth. You see like ripped sweater for thousands of dollars, and it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's fashion. And I think for discerning customers, the one maybe that we aim for, we don't want people who dress to show wealth or to be considered wealthy people. Maybe we aim for people who's more mindful, who can appreciate different kind of luxury in life, like luxury of being kinder to the environment. Maybe it is a luxury that we have yet to, we all need to afford, I think. Yeah.
Any final words? All right. So a few announcements before we go to lunch.
I just want to thank our panelists first. Can we do that?
Excuse me. I'm so eager to let blood flow back to my feet. So,
thank you, Toton. Thank you, Schepers boss. Thank you, Aline, for a really touching conversation. Thank you.